No, no.
I just watched Team Canada lose at the World Juniors right now. Are you aware of the World Juniors? And
No.
honestly, I feel like I have you to blame a little bit if you can believe it, because
Why?
our fucking best player Bedard is on the Chicago Blackhawks, and he should be at this tournament right now. So, like, literally, Chicago is the reason that our World Junior team has just
We're
got
messing
destroyed by
up.
Sweden. You want to know my other theory is, uh, Sweden weed is still illegal. I am worried that our fucking youngins are getting infected by this weed. Like, I was watching the game out there; they were slow. Sorry, I won't talk about sports too much. They were
Uh,
slow. Their cardio seemed bad. They were second guessing themselves. I was like, this looks like textbook weed. You know, like I
yeah.
watched it happen to me when I was in my 20s and I gave up on hockey and I watched myself slow down. But yeah, I saw it out there and I was like, oh, geez.
I
Well,
feel that.
do you like sports at all?
Um, I'll watch sports. I'm not really like into them. I don't follow them necessarily. But I like to play recreationally. Like
Hmm.
I like to, throw a ball around every now.
Sounds like you're a real athlete.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
No,
Well,
but
sorry, please continue.
no, I was gonna say, speaking of weed, and it messing everything up, that was a part of the whole Kill Tony thing, which I hate to even admit.
Oh,
Uh,
you did seem a little high up there. Not gonna lie, yeah.
because okay, so I don't know if you want me to talk about it a little bit and like
Absolutely, yeah, please.
little backstory. So I went to Texas with Olivia Carter. She's a great comic. She used to live in Chicago. That's where we met, and she's moved to New York now because she basically conquered all of Chicago, and in terms of like the comedy scene. And so now she's in New York, and she asked me, she's like, "Let's go to Texas," and I was like, "Okay, let's go to Texas." And so we get there, and um, she like didn't really know too much about Kill Tony, so she was like, "Should we sign up?" And I go, I don't know, it's kind of a brutal show. Like I've watched it, I've looked, I check in every now and then, so I knew about it, she didn't really know about it. So she gets called first, which is insane. We were at Creek and Cave, and so someone like messages her, and so we run like the 3 blocks over, and she like gets ready to go up on stage. And so at that point I was like, oh, like this is it, like she got called, like
Yep.
there's no chance that both of us will be called, because like everyone around me, I'm waiting for, I'm like holding her coats and her purse while she's like on stage, and you can't see anything, you don't know anything that's going on stage, you have no access to it. So I'm just standing around holding her coat and her purse, just being like, well, this is it. Like she got the opportunity. Like this is great. And then she gets off stage and she's like, I just had a great set. Like that was so fun. She also like had no idea how many people were gonna be in the room because she just didn't understand the capacity of what Kill Tony is.
Yeah.
And so, dude, that's so awesome. You had a great set. Like you don't understand how huge this is for you. Like everyone's gonna see it. And I was like super hyped for her. While I was waiting, this guy that we had met like invited me over to like come smoke with them. So I was like, yeah, sure, I can smoke. Like I'm not doing anything tonight. Like the night's over. Like we're good. And even there's like this other open mic in the same room that lets you practice a minute. And then I
Hmm.
asked him, I was like, should I go up and like just go try a minute or whatever? And then he was like, yeah, I could probably get you up. And I was like, nah, I smoked. I shouldn't. Like I wasn't even willing to go up at this open mic because I had smoked.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Olivia like comes out, and like we go and like take a walk to the car and put things away. We like come back, we're like talking about it, I'm like telling her like how like awesome, like I was so happy for her, like truly I was like, this is gonna be so huge for you, dude. And
Yeah.
she was like, really?
I
Like,
believe
yeah,
that
you.
about 50%.
I'm like I'm like a million people are gonna see you, like, and if you had a great set like you're telling me you did, like it's gonna be great. And then like 2 hours later. So this was like, she was first called, I was last called, if you don't count the
Yes.
last. And so it was 2 hours later. So like within that amount of time, I go, the show's over, it's done. Like my mind is turned off now. We are walking out of the building because I'm like, we haven't heard anyone's name called in a while. We were also in like a separate part of the room where you couldn't really hear anything that was going on. So I was like, yeah, let's like leave. Like the night's done. And as I was walking out, my name gets called, and I was like, no. I was like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah. Wow.
not ready. Like
That's
I'm
quite
not.
the story. I'm not ready. Yeah, that was quite the story. Like, that's crazy that happened, you know?
Yeah,
And one thing I was going to say is that, like, and I don't know, this probably comes from you practicing on with that roast battle stuff. And like, it was funny because at first, because they're not used to it, it didn't seem like it was working out for you, the sort of the dialogue you were having with the audience. But then it started to catch on. And this is what I wanted to add also, because I said you didn't do good. But the reality is that, like, the interview portion, you did do good. By the end, like, Tony loved you. He was like, I will let you go forever. And,
I
you
know.
know, I mean, Red Band was stabbing himself while you were up there, but
Sure was.
how did that make you feel to look over and see that?
I was miserable. Like that was one thing I read. By the way, I've read all the comments. I've read all the Reddit. I truly like sat in it for a whole like almost 2 weeks of just
Mhm.
being like, what just happened? Because I even got like messages after the show from some of the people who like were there live. They were like, you were so likable. And I'm like, how are you, how can you bomb and be likable at the same time? I'm like, I don't understand
Exactly. And that's why
what
I was impressed.
I like, and it doesn't make sense to me. You know, it's like, it's an oxymoron. Like that's not possible. But people were telling me that. And like, I was so confused. So I was like, I was reading all the comments. I wanted to know, I really wanted to know how people perceived me and like what actually happened up there. Cause I was miserable after it happened. And so on stage, right? Like I'm knowing I'm bombing. I know that it's everything that could have gone wrong is going wrong. And, I just become like completely like humiliated. And so I just kind of like just shut down and I know the show. I know what's about to happen. And it happened. Tim fucking took shots at me. Tony took shots at me. Red Band
Yeah.
was taking himself. He wanted to fucking kill himself up there listening
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of like, I just like bunkered down and was like, here we go. Like, here it's
Yeah.
happening.
It was
Um,
courageous. Yeah.
and people in the comments, people were like, she was so smug up there. Like there were like so many comments saying I was like cocky and smug. And I was like, dude, if I was cocky and smug, I would have been shooting shots back at them. Like what I was doing
Exactly.
was just, and
Yeah.
like,
I don't know how
and,
they can call you cocky and smug when Rick Diaz has been up there.
but that's what I'm saying. I was like, that is not me being cocky and smug. That is me being absolutely humiliated and just
Yeah.
fucking taking it on the
Yeah.
chin.
Yeah.
And and like in my head I'm so self-aware, which was like also an issue of like I knew how important the show was. I knew how many people were about to see this epic atomic bomb. And so it just like ruined me on stage. So I was just
Yeah.
like, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks Tim Dillon. I know it sucks. Like everything sucks that just happened. And I couldn't believe I told Tony on stage. I was like, you could have kicked me off like minutes ago. Like why
Yeah.
am I still here? Like it's
Yeah.
my show.
Yeah.
You want. And I'm just like,